Hey traders, it's John Fortune here with this week's Weekly Forex Forecast for the 17th of June to the 21st of June 2019. As always, we're going to start off by looking at the US dollar index and oil before running through a number of markets, looking at the key levels of support and resistance in the process. We're also going to be highlighting some of the targets that we're going to be looking for in this coming week and also for the weeks ahead. So let's jump over to the charts and see where the money is this week. As always, we're going to start off by looking at the US dollar. Now, we've been looking in previous videos. If we just scroll out a little bit here at this, what's known as a double top formation in the US dollar index, and we had this break down below the key low in this pattern down in this area recently, and last week we actually rallied and we closed back inside this large range or this large double top pattern in the dollar index. So very simply put, in terms of the dollar index going into this week, although we are looking for further declines to the downside overall in the US dollar index, as it stands, we're currently correcting in towards the 97.72, and there is a chance next week that actually we retest the 97.72 and perhaps even pretty much go nowhere next week. We just end up in this area like this. So if that's the case, going into next week, although we're looking further declines to the downside, we are going to go into next week with a neutral bias on the US dollar index. And this means that we're going to be trading the individual markets on their own merit without a strong bias in the US dollar one way or the other. And the next market we're going to look at is crude oil. Now, last week we were looking further declines to the downside in crude oil. We did get a bit of a sell-off, but if you look at the overall price action here, we pretty much haven't gone anywhere in oil. We've been in this corrective sideways movement now for a short while. So we are still looking further declines to the downside. What we would like to see in crude oil going into next week is if we can get a deeper pullback. Any deeper pullback in this area is going to give us the chance to get better risk to reward down towards these targets. So if we can get a pullback, and preferably as always, because it gives us the best risk to reward if we can come back and retest broken support, turning resistance at the 57.190, this would be a fantastic place to start once again to look for bearish formations and patterns. And if we get the right kind of bearish formations and patterns in oil, we're going to be looking at initiating shorts down towards the next key of support to the downside in the target set, the 49.33, and if we can get a break through here, we're going to be looking down towards the next key of support to the downside in target 2 at the 46.93. So the first pair we're going to look at is euro dollar. Now, last week we were looking for a pullback in euro dollar down towards the 1.12120. You can see we did get this price action. We did come back and test this last week, although we are trading into this with momentum to the downside. So we need to see a reversal take place, but this is now an area in euro dollar. Now we've come back and tested a broken resistance from the past, looking to turn support at the 1.1212. This becomes an area next week where if we start to see the right kind of bullish formations and patterns, we're going to be looking in this area at initiating longs up towards the next key of resistance, the upside in the target set at the 1.1389. So the next market we're going to look at is pound dollar. Now, going into this week, we are looking for further declines to the downside in pound dollar. If we can get a pullback, and a retest of broken support, turning resistance to the 1.2691, this is going to be a great place going into next week to start to look for bearish formations and patterns. And if we get the right kind of bearish formations and patterns in this area, we're going to be looking at initiating shorts down towards the next key of support to the downside in the target set at the 1.2481, and if we can get a break through here, we're going to be looking down towards the next key of support to the downside in target 2 at the 1.2402. So the next market we're going to look at is US dollar Japanese yen. Now, for the last 2 weeks, we have been looking further declines to the downside in the US dollar Japanese yen, and our bias on the US dollar yen has not changed. We are looking further declines going into next week. For the last 2 weeks, we've just corrected. We haven't really done anything. We haven't moved anywhere in the US dollar yen. We've just been going sideways. So we are now looking to see if next week we can resolve to the downside this correction. What we would like to see, if we can pull back a little bit more, that would be fantastic, because we could see if we can test the previous broken support, turning resistance to the 109.090. If we do get one more move up and we trade into this area, this would be a fantastic place to start to look for those bearish formations and patterns. And we're going to be looking at initiating shorts down towards the next key of support to the downside in the target set at the 107.32. And if we can get a break through there, we're going to be looking down towards the next key of support to the downside in target 2 at the 106.10. So next market we're going to look at is Aussie dollar. Now we start the week below a key area of broken support from the past, looking to turn resistance at 0.69450. If we can get a pullback in the Aussie dollar, any pullback in this area, we're going to view as an opportunity to look for bearish formations and patterns and further declines to the downside. Preferably, as always, if we can come back and retest broken support, turning resistance at the 0.69450, this would be the preferable place to start to look for bearish formations and patterns. And we're going to be looking at initiating shorts down towards the next key area of support to the downside and the target set at the 0.6830. And if we can get a breakthrough here, we're going to be looking down towards the next key of support to the downside and target 2 at the 0.6750. So next market we're going to look at is New Zealand dollar. Now we start the week below a key area of broken support from the past, looking to turn resistance at the 0.66130. We are still trending to the downside in the New Zealand dollar, and so we are just looking for any pullbacks as an opportunity to get involved with this thing to the downside. As always, if we can get a pullback and a retest of broken support, turning resistance at 0.66130, this is the best place, this is the preferable place to start to look for those bearish formations and patterns. And if we get the right kind of bearish formations and patterns in this area, we're going to be looking at initiating shorts down towards the next key area of support to the downside and the target set at the 0.6425. And if we can get a breakthrough here, we're going to be looking down towards the next key area of support to the downside and target 2 at the 0.6348. So next market we're going to look at is US dollar Swiss franc. Now we are still trending to the downside overall in the US dollar Swiss franc, so we are looking further declines to the downside. We have had a pullback and we are very close to testing previous broken support from the past, looking to turn resistance at the 1.0009. If we can come back and test this, this is going to be a great place next week to start to look for bearish formations and patterns. And if we get the right kind of bearish formations and patterns in this area, we're going to be looking at initiating shorts down towards the next key of support to the downside and the target set at the 0.9821. And if we can get a breakthrough here, we're going to be looking down towards the next key of support to the downside and target 2 at the 0.9716. The next market we're going to look at is US dollar CAD. Now we're looking for further declines going into next week in the US dollar CAD as we're still structured to the downside. We are very close to retesting broken support from the past, turning resistance at the 1.34320. If we can come up and test the 1.34320, this is going to be an area next week where we're going to start to see if we can get those bearish formations and patterns. And if we get the right kind of bearish formations and patterns in this area, we're going to be looking at initiating shorts down towards the next key of support to the downside and the target set at the 1.3216. And if we can get a breakthrough there, we're going to be looking down towards the next key of support to the downside and target 2 at the 1.3113. And last but not least, we have gold. Now, last week we were looking further advances to the upside, and we did come and take out that target, and we started to sell off once we hit this target. A bit of profit taking came in. Very simply put, we are still looking for further advances to the upside in gold. What we would like to see is if we can get a pullback in gold, and if we can get a pullback, and preferably if we can get a pullback and a retest of broken resistance, turning support at the 1329.43. This is going to be an area next week that we're going to start to look for bullish formations and patterns. And if we get the right kind of bullish formations and patterns in this area, we're going to be looking at initiating longs up towards the next key of resistance, the upside and the target set at the 1366.00. And if we get a breakthrough there, we're going to be looking up towards the next key of resistance, the upside and target 2 at the 1375.10. So that is it from me for this week, guys. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please let me know by liking, sharing and subscribing. A big thank you to everyone who does that on a regular basis, and a big thank you to everyone who has subscribed to the channel so far. I want to wish you all a fantastic weekend. I hope you enjoy the rest of the weekend, and I hope you all have a fantastic week next week. The only thing left for me to say, guys, is take care and don't forget to trade safely.